Well, I promised you the Maha Kumbh Mela on radio, and it's going to happen right away on Chennai Live 104.8 FM. Karthik is here with us this morning to take us through the Kumbh Mela. Karthik, good morning to you,
Good morning,
welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Karthik, tell us a bit about yourself.
I work as a product marketing manager for a company called Travelocity. I handle their hotels and packaging business. So, fundamentally, like traveling. It helps when you have a job that kind of matches what you like. So, do that.
You're living a dream, basically.
Kind of, not yet, but still. I'd still like to be associated with someone like a National Geographic or something like that.
That's everybody's dream, dude. Thanks to 3 Idiots, now everybody wants to be with National Geographic. But anyways, moving on, a photographer, I mean, at least in that sense. But let's move on and talk to you about Maha Kumbh Mela. How did Kumbh Mela happen to you sitting somewhere in Bangalore City behind this computer? How did Kumbh Mela happen?
A photographer and learning. So while I was going through a photographer called Steve McCurry's images, this was sometime in November, December, and that's when I came across a series of images, and it said that the next Kumbh Mela is happening in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, this is a great opportunity for me to go learn, sit with people, understand, and observe various cultures, observe faith. There are 2 crore people coming. There must be some reason.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm not a very religious person myself. I just wanted to go utilize this opportunity for travel and for photography. And in the limited time that I'm able to manage to take off, I took 3 days off, so it was a 4-day trip. So I was able to, plan and go there.
Karthik, just when you said Steve McCurry, the Afghan girl, so just imagine you need a photographer from the West to actually make us understand Kumbh Mela. But anyways, tell us about day 1 of Kumbh Mela. What happened there? How was your travel? Tell us about. We're going to go through 4 days of your travel on our radio show. What happened on day 1?
Day 1, it was a mad morning. 6 o'clock in the morning, I had to take a flight, reach Delhi, then take an immediate flight from there to Kanpur, then take a local auto and then get to the railway station. And then I finally got to Allahabad. It was, I think, about 6 in the evening, and it was mad chaos there. And it was very tough to walk across because there were so many people, a sea of humanity out there. And then we just saw a bridge and we were about to cross, and we realized the bridge doesn't have steps. And that was actually the bridge that got collapsed 5 days back. We went on February 15th.
Oh my God.
Which is the Basant Panchami day, where a lot of people jump in the Ganges hoping that they reset their sin counter to 0. But so the steps were in there. So we saw where people actually had died. And from there, it took us 3 different modes of transport to actually reach the camp that we were scheduled to. Heavy rains that day in Allahabad. And it was nice. So I think the highlight of that evening trip was one of the auto drivers stopped in the rain and said, in the rains in Allahabad, you should have jaggery samosa. So we stopped by a seaside stall, and he paid for us. And
auto guy paid for you?
The auto guy paid for us.
Where are these auto guys? Why don't they come to Chennai? Karthik, why don't they come here? And so that was essentially day 1 for you.
No, that was the highlight. And then we went to the camp. And I think the most beautiful sight that I saw was in Allahabad, the night sky is completely orange. And that's because of all the lights that are there in the Kumbh area. So we were a little away from the Kumbh area in a place called Arail Ghat, which is one of the other banks of the Ganges. So from a distance, you see the night sky orange. It's not every day that you see that. So that was probably one of the defining moments. We just went to sleep after that. But yeah, the night sky turning orange was a beautiful image to bring back.
All right, day 2, day 3, and day 4, that's coming up in a bit with Karthik right here on Chennai Live 104.8 FM. Seriously, with the Kumbh Mela, Karthik, I will tell you, I've just been seeing naked sadhus plastered all over Facebook. I'm sure there's more to the Kumbh Mela. Maha Kumbh Mela, that's coming up in a bit. Imelda May with Big Bad Handsome Man.
Chennai Live.
Meter up.
It's all about Namma Chennai.
This morning on Chennai Live 104.8 FM, we're going through the Maha Kumbh Mela with Karthik, who's been taking us through Allahabad. So yeah, you reached there, you saw the orange skies, and then what happened next?
It was raining, and when we got up on day 2, it was very heavy rains, and it was completely dark. It was like 7 in the evening at 10 in the morning. So we were told by the camp organizers not to go anywhere because a lot of camps were getting submerged in the water.
Oh my God.
And a lot of these camps were being swept away because of the floods that were there. I think close to about 40 people died in that rains because it was very heavy rains. But then having come all the way there, we didn't want to. We just took an umbrella and ventured out. It was a beautiful walk. The problem was we got lost.
Oh,
yeah,
shucks.
And in the Kumbh Mela, which is like 14 sectors and 20 square kilometers, if you get lost, there are and most people are lost there because they don't know which sector. You don't have name boards or stuff like that. You just have to rely on policemen to check which sector you are in. And even though you have a map or Google Maps, it doesn't tell you where you are. We actually did check Nokia maps, and it told us that we're in the middle of the Ganges. And then we realized that these are all the banks of the Ganges. So the city that's just erected just for the 45-50 day period. So the second day was spent completely getting lost, trying to explore. And once we got so wet in the rains, and I had to keep my protective camera gear behind. We got so wet in the rains, it was very, very chill, close to 7-8 degrees. And I ventured out with a half pants there, so it was a little tough to walk out there. But then we just suddenly saw an Annadan center giving free food. So a couple of beggars sat next to them, had lovely food, chapatis and dal. And that kind of defined day 2. Most of which was spent, randomly gazing about. We were completely lost. But yeah, that was day 2 for us.
Okay, day 2 for you. And also, you know what, honestly, you had right from Preeti Zinta to a team from Harvard to the whole world assembling at the Maha Kumbh Mela. This is not any Kumbh Mela, but Maha. Did you ask them what does Kumbh actually mean, or why is it the Maha Kumbh Mela?
Well, the Kumbh basically is that pot where, when the devas and the demons are fighting, and they are fighting over this pot of nectar. And this pot of nectar was supposedly taken by one of the gods. And while he was running away with this, 4 drops of nectar supposedly fell on planet Earth. It fell in Ujjain, Nasik, Allahabad, and another place. So
this I also read in the Kumbh Mela website. So that's the only thing. I mean, no other reason.
The people come simply because of the belief that they will have moksha from the cycle of death life and death. So that's the only reason they come. And everybody has their own reasons of coming. Some people say some things will happen, my life will become better. But I think it's a faith that kind of surprises me, because people just believe in the faith and come all the way. Some people come walking from Kanpur, some people come unreserved, sitting like this for 15-16 hours in a train. It's very interesting to hear stories of people, why they come here.
Yeah, just faith, a leap of faith to see, but seriously also, the place that you were seated was basically a place which was covered with water a few months ago, and now it's dry, and then water will come back.
Water will come back.
So did you were actually walking on the river bed, did you experience anything different over there?
There's something called pontoon bridges. So while you walk on them, they're very, very marshy. And in the rains, right, what happens is a lot of vehicles tend to go. So you see that the whole place, while you're walking, everything is temporary. You have a lot of these iron beds purposely kept so that people don't falter and walk along. And there are vehicles getting stuck every half hour. And there's a huge truck that's collapsed into the riverbed. These are signs that you'll realize that this is not a permanent place. These are temporary places that are being erected. So a lot of chaos that tends to happen with that. But fundamentally, each of these places are connected by pontoon bridges. Pontoon is probably a Hindi word for which I don't know the meaning. But some of these pontoon bridges are not completely connected. They're connected on land. And the day when it rained, where we were walking on day 2, in half an hour after we crossed the place which was not connected by the pontoons, it was completely submerged. So we couldn't go back. So that's why we were lost. We didn't know which way to explore. And then I think for 7 hours we were roaming about until we finally saw a bridge that connected us back to Arail Ghat, where we were staying.
Alright, more about the Maha Kumbh Mela in a bit. Here is Incubus Will Drive on Chennai Live 104.8 FM. Stay tuned. Well, Karthik is here with us this morning on Chennai Live 104.8 FM, taking us through the Mahakumbh. Day 1, Day 2, you told us all about the rains, about those bridges, and what happened. Day 3, how was it?
I think Day 3 was the most fulfilling day of the Mahakumbh Mela, because the rains had cleared and then we could now walk, and the camp organizers, the Maharishi Yogi Ashram is right next door, and somebody from there said that he also wanted to show people around. So we had a guide, so we weren't going to get lost. So we were able to travel to a lot of places. We had initially we started with the dip in the Ganges. In Bangalore, given that it's 10-12 degrees, I never take the risk of having my bath in cold water. But the Ganges was really cold because it's like 10-11 degrees in winter there. But to jump inside the water is a very different, calls for a very different.
But you're not irked by the fact that, let me see, I mean, as per this interesting article in the New York Times. It says 120 million pilgrims washed away their sins. 120 million people. It's like a sea of humanity inside the Ganges. Were you not worried that it would be impure?
It's actually I was because when I go to the periphery of the Ganges, there's a lot of muck floating there. You have garlands, you have a lot of diyas, a lot of stuff that kind of floats there. So if you were taking a bath there, and then there's a problem. And I see that all these things stick to you when you take a bath at the river banks. But if you go inside the Ganges, which is the Sangam, which is the confluence of the three rivers, there it's pretty clean because it's going to take some distance inside to come.
So you walked in.
You take a boat there, and even there, I think you need to negotiate prices. They were a little better than the Chennai auto walas. So they quoted 2,500 for a boat, and then we got down to 40 rupees. So big difference.
Huge difference.
So we had to negotiate with 4 or 5 vendors. And I think the one who quoted 40 rupees at the end, who couldn't come because we had to wait for 10 more people to come. So we paid 300 for the boat. We were 3 of us, so we paid 300 for the boat.
Each?
Totally. We just take the boat for about 45 minutes. We told them we are going to take too long in the Ganges. So as soon as you go there, there is another boat waiting where you're forcibly taken in and you're asked to do a puja. And they say, here are some laddus, 5 kg, do a puja for 5 kgs of laddus. Since I wasn't very religious, I wasn't very keen on doing this because I know the money isn't going to go anywhere. It's just going to go to somebody else's pocket. So I did the usual dubki where you just jump into the water. And once I did it, it was brilliant because the feeling of you just feel very refreshed. 3 dips in the Ganges, and I kept doing that about 3-4 times during the day. So that was one. And the other experience, of course, was setting a lot of these diyas at sunset with a lot of these kids. So kids play these games where they come to the banks of the Ganges and they have these diyas that float across the sunset. It makes for wonderful scenery when the sunset comes. So that was one. And of course, getting to meet the poster boys of the Mahakumbh Mela, which is the Naga Babas. So happened to go meet them in their den. I think they were leaving then because the Naga Babas stayed till the 15th or till the 3rd royal dip, and after that they moved to...
What is the speciality of these Naga Babas?
I don't know. A lot of them revere them, but to me it's basically Goa of the 60s without all the free sex. So the Naga Babas are nude. They consume hashish. They consume cannabis. They even distribute it as prasad to some of their
free of cost.
Not free of cost. I think they expect some money that you pay. 10, 20, 100 rupees. And somebody from Bombay, some girl from Bombay who had come there said that for 2 drags, $100, I don't get this back home in Bombay. So I think a lot of people also are attracted here because of a lot of free dope that's not free, but yeah, very, very cheap dope that's also there. But the Naga Babas are supposed to be very religious and supposed to do a lot of pujas. And under faith, I think nobody questions why something is this way. Faith is something where you just believe and then you go ahead. But the Naga Babas make for some very interesting people. It also shows how people through meditation can achieve a lot of things that normal men can't achieve. There's one person holding his hands for the last 40 years, and he has nails that are this long. And there is somebody who lifts 17 kgs of bricks with his penis. This was this person had already moved, but this was shown on one of the National Geographic. There's a video on this last week, so this was shown on that. But I saw the nail person, and I even included that in my Facebook album. So yeah, I mean, you get to see such people who are doing all these stunts, and you're just wondering how do they do it. So
how do they do it? That's the question everyone asks, I guess. More with Karthik in a bit. Day 4 of Kumbh Mela on the other side of what song should I play? Taylor Swift's Red coming up on The Breakfast Show. Well, people around the world have been just asking one question. How on earth did they put together such an amazing event, and seriously, amazingly well done, handling crazy people, especially crazy people who can just about do anything. How did they even put this event together? Karthik, did you ask yourself this question, and when did that get answered?
I think I read an article in the Hindu sometime back in January in terms of how they've put these things together. And once I go there, I didn't realize the impact of that article until I went there. And then I see that this whole temporary city must be having close to 50,000 electrical poles, and all of these are temporary. The electrical poles, and then giving water connections to various tents, having toilets that are created. Every 200 meters there are makeshift toilets. These are toilets without waters, basically just shitholes where people can go shit and then go away. But still, to create that infrastructure, to make sure that sanitization powder is put everywhere on the toilets, and to also make sure that free food is given to all the pilgrims. So there are various centers that coordinate for free food. To do an estimation of this size is very, very huge, and to also take care that there are no casualties. Though there were a couple of mishaps that did happen, but I think for an event of this scale, it's still very less. Though my apologies or condolences to the people who died due to this. But still, things like, for example, when I went, there were huge floods and 40 people. India Today reported 40 people died. The rail mishap, as was publicly observed, was not something that was part of the Kumbh Mela, but something that happened with Indian Railways. But still, I think an event of this size to be managed, to manage chaos is really very remarkable.
It is indeed. And so what happened on day 5?
I think the next day was just spent trying to take some other shots of people, trying to get close with some, because I met a National Geographic photographer who was camping right next to me. So he said, while most of your pictures are from a certain distance, try to get close and personal with people. He said he could do it with just saying one word, saying pranam and namaste, and then he could get great pictures. So he said that the key is just to go meet people, ask them why they come to the Kumbh Mela. So a lot of people, when I went and spoke with them, say they come here because they believe Bhagavan will take care of some mannat that they have. And some people said that their kids will grow up to become, basically will grow up and will become very prosperous. So that's why they bring the kids along. So everybody has their own little story, and it's very interesting listening to these stories. You don't want to mock at them, because while I don't have a comment on religion, everybody else, they have their own little stories, and
they have their faith in place, and we have no right to speak about that anyways. So right, you met all these people, but I did see this, when it comes to Bollywood movies, we're discussing off air how people go missing during the Kumbh Mela. So did you meet people? I saw pictures of you putting up posters. There's a picture of someone who went missing in the Kumbh Mela. How was it organized in that sense?
The Kumbh Mela has a command center or a control center where I think every 15 seconds they have names of people and where they are from, people who get missed, and they announce. While it's not a very effective system because it doesn't stay in your head, because there are so many other sites to absorb that you wouldn't very clearly remember that Harivansh Rai or someone like that got missed. He was 15 years of age. They have this system in place where people who otherwise are searching for will go to the command center and then find themselves, as in have relatives come over. But the person that you were seeing on my album was, I think, a person who got missed a few years earlier to the Kumbh Mela, and his name is being circulated everywhere so that somebody can find him. His name is Dan Spolin. But yeah, there are a lot of stories of people missing at the Kumbh, and when I heard 8,500 people were missed, and though there were rumors on one of those Hindi channels saying that people are eaten by the Naga Babas because they are the man-eaters, but I didn't see anybody. I mean, it's just maybe my data sample. I didn't see any of those Naga Babas really having carnal instincts wanting to eat people. So.
All right. Thank you so very much, Karthik, for sharing all your experiences. The Aghori Babas, we always heard stories, movies being made about them. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
On that note, it's going to be the script along with Will I Am with the Hall of Fame. I hope you had a great time with me on the morning show, and I'll see you tomorrow bright and happy 7 to 11 on The Breakfast Show. Stay tuned.